Like a bad stock market, the Bears ruined some people's NFL Survivor Week 5. We'll discuss it and go over a very interesting Week 6 in NFL Survivor coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants. Eric, you surviving there?
Oh, look at you with the jokes. I knew we were taking a chance, folks. Michael, it was so frustrating. The one thing I was concerned with, I said on the show, was Washington's secondary. I cannot tell you how many wide open players, mostly DJ Moore.
DJ Moore's.
Not like Washington shouldn't be thinking, gee, this is the guy that we need to make sure that we double cover our. Can you make any sense out of that? I mean, they had a chance late, and then they missed that field goal to cut it to 7, and it was that did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I'll blame it on is that, Thursday night football is the worst thing for the NFL, right? It's just, it's bad for injuries. It's bad for prep. The Commanders did not look like they were ever in command. And the Bears, look like they have some life.
Boy, you're just in a jovial mood this week. So I want to shout out our comment section because they were right. They said, you know what? Aren't you worried about the fact that it's a short week and they're coming off a very tough game against Philadelphia that went into overtime? But it was Chicago that came in more injured in this game. They had a bunch of injuries to their defensive backfield. But Michael, enough about me. Tell us about the rest of the people in our NFL Survivor pool. What happened?
Well, we only lost 5 to that Washington game, so they listened to your caveat or my good advice. We lost 10 for the week. 2 to the Houston game, which came to that last second field goal. 2 to Green Bay. You guys should have told me I was at the game, courtesy of Caesars, but I was rooting for the Raiders, so I was glad that the Raiders won that game. Those were probably folks that forgot to pick on Sunday or didn't get it in time because of the early start. And then, of course, we always have one or more that did not make a pick. Be sure you guys get your picks in. So we're down to 49, Eric.
I want to do a quick shout out because we lost some people. First of all, big shout out to the folks who filled my pain with Washington. John Bazerings, Josh Botkin, Scott Kelly, and William Shaw. We also lost a former winner who picked Houston, Tony Godino, and one of our longtime listeners, always very active in the comment section, which we really appreciate. Ed Sparks lost with Houston. And Green Bay, like you said, Peter Doyle and Sarah McMahon. I think a lot of people tried to make some moves like I did because they knew they would like to keep one of these top favorites this week. And it would have been a great strategy if it worked out. So we talk about week 6?
Let's get into it.
All right. So here are the games that we think you should be taking a look at. The top 3 big favorites: Buffalo, 14.5-point favorites, Miami 14, and Kansas City 10. All those teams at home against the New York Giants, Carolina, and Denver. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the other games later. Michael, when you're looking at all of these games that are on the board, there is definitely 2 routes. Do you take a safe route this week with one of the 3 games, or are you inclined to want to take a chance, assuming you have at least one of these top 3 teams available?
Yeah, so most people don't. A lot of people don't, the ones that have survived thus far. But assuming that I did, I think the field has whittled down in a lot of survivor pools. The reason to save a lot of teams is now getting to a little bit later in the year. So I think that these other games are just scary enough to where I would take advantage of good AFC, championship level teams playing against really poor quality teams that are playing poor even right now on the road. So I think I would go the conservative route. Made the mistake early on not to do that. And I think it makes sense to continue to do so.
So if you, Michael, had everybody available to you, who would you go with this week, considering their future value and your opinion of their likelihood to win this week?
Yeah, no, very good question. I actually think that of those three teams, the best future value is perhaps Miami. They just have a nice stretch middle of the season where they back to back kind of play teams that they should be able to beat, and also should help them stay healthy. Although they do have a chain gone this week, that's a little bit of a hit to them. But with Waddle back, I think they're really still at full strength, and their defense looked pretty good this last week as well. So I would probably think about perhaps saving Miami. Buffalo coming off that tough loss in London could be a little bit dragged on, but I don't think that's going to be a problem against the really atrocious New York Giants offensive line. And then Kansas City playing, perhaps now we may even say the worst team in the league, Denver, who's been really bad, other than their nice comeback against the Bears. Of the three teams that we're looking at, the New York Giants seems to be the one that's in most disarray. Even if they get their star running back, their offensive line continue to give up sacks, even to Miami, who hasn't necessarily been the best team for getting sacks. Daniel Jones may not even start. It looks like he's going to, but I'm not sure that that's really a problem. I think I would go with Buffalo this week, coming off of a loss.
All right, this is great, Michael. Finally, some disagreement between us. I agree with that. I'm advising, and that was always my plan, to pick one of these top favorites this particular week, because I have little confidence of the other teams that aren't 1 through 3 this week. But it's something which I said from the very last week. I want to burn Miami. I want Miami this last week or this week. And one of the reasons is, even with, I think you make an excellent point with A-Chain being out, they have a true home field advantage early in the year due to their stadium, due to the hot weather. And I just got a phone call with Carolina and said, how dare you say Denver's the worst team? We're the team that has the win, is the only team in the NFL that's winless. So 14-point favorites against a Carolina team that is just not good. They are so explosive, and I worry about Miami playing on the road later in the year, or even at home when the weather gets colder. I saw them get really exposed by Buffalo in Buffalo. So I'd rather just burn Miami right now and take the week off and not worry. Let's take a peek. What if you don't have one of those games? Or if you're like, you know what? I play in a league where I have to double up on picks down the road. So I don't want to burn these teams up here at the top. They have such great future value. So what would our recommendations, if they want to get a little frisky, they want to take a little chances. So let's talk about each of these games, and then we can say at the end where we would go. So talk to me about the Philadelphia Eagles, 6.5-point favorites at the New York Jets.
Well, I mean, so Philadelphia looks fantastic. They are the best at the tush push. I'm really impressed with Nick Sirianni and how he has this team humming almost as strong as the Niners, although the Niners, just how impressive are they right now? Jalen Hurts looking great. This Jets offense, really, Zach Wilson, super disappointing this last week. You could tell that his one decent week just wasn't enough. There's a reason why this is the highest spread of the remaining games, and that's because Philadelphia is a good team and the Jets are a not so good team. But I don't love this game. I might actually like the next one on our list a little bit more. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I think I was looking at your mouth very closely. You said that Philadelphia is a good team and the Jets, and I thought you were going to say bad, and then you said not so good, because the Jets are not a bad team. And in fact, I think they're an average team. Maybe I'm much higher than them. I expect this team to be close to 500 at the end of the year. And I can name a whole lot of teams, probably I don't know, at least 12 or 13 that I'd rather pick on. And the Eagles have so many other games that are better. Now,
not till late in the season, though, right? Look at the run that they have
yeah.
from here until week 16.
Okay, all right. So I'm particularly sensitive. Week 8, they're at Washington. Freaking Washington. so that is a game, but you're right, Michael. They're really good games are week 16 through 18. And I understand it is hard to be thinking about week 16 and 17, and you should never think about week 18 because you don't even know if Philadelphia would care that week. That's a long time to wait. But this isn't Philadelphia playing Denver and Philadelphia playing Carolina or the New York Giants. They're playing a New York team in New York. So I don't feel as great about this. I don't feel great about this game. Let me just say that. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
How about the Rams, who are at home, 5.5-point favorites over Arizona? So this was the game when I was looking last week and trying to decide. So I knew it was either going to be Miami last week and then this game, the Rams this week, or Washington last week. And of course, this week going with Miami. Well, we can tell that I went the wrong route. Now let's see if it may be I was condemned no matter what. Who knows? Will the Rams, a couple of things to think about the Rams this week. We saw them back with Cooper Kupp, and I want to engage with you about this Ram offense with Cooper Kupp versus without. Now they got these two dynamic weapons with Kupp and Puka. Tell me, how did they look with both of those guys on the field?
They looked really good. I mean, the Eagles took care of business in the second half because it's a good Eagles team, and they are able to beat anyone in the league right now. But the Rams, at home, they got Cooper Kupp going. They were able to get Puka in the end zone. Their defense didn't necessarily make the stops when they needed to, but they were in this game. They looked very good. Home 2 weeks in a row, going up against a Cardinals team that's going to be missing for a couple of weeks now. Their go-to back. This Cardinals team is not a good team. This should be a pretty handy win for the Rams.
It's going to take forensic scientists and the best football minds to explain to me how Dallas lost to Arizona. But other than that game, Arizona has been just about as bad as we thought they were going to be. The last two games blown out by San Francisco and Cincinnati, who hadn't looked good before that. And then losses at the beginning of the year against two teams that aren't that good. So I get it. And I think the James Conner injury, the running back, I think is a big one. Yeah, I have difficulty. I think these games, I have almost the same level of comfort. Philadelphia winning and the Rams winning. I definitely think they both will win, but we're talking again about 65% chance in my mind. So that's a big thing to stomach, when it's your survivor life. Imagine going to the doctor and it says, you have to get surgery. Don't worry. You have a 65% chance of surviving.
Yeah, not a lot of future value to this Rams team. So, that's something else to weigh in compared to Philadelphia, but it has a little more future value.
Okay. Yeah. They, what future value they do have is very late in the season, which is, again, the problem. Hosting Washington in week 15 and at the New York Giants in week 17. All right, let's take a look at Jacksonville, 4-point favorites versus Indianapolis. In week 1, we saw Jacksonville come up with a key victory at Indianapolis. Now this game is at Jacksonville. Jekyll and Hyde, Jacksonville has actually looked pretty good these last 2 weeks. I don't know, Michael, can they play all their games in London? Maybe that's the approach.
Well, interesting fact, if you pay attention to what happened to the Jaguars last year when they went to London, they actually lost that game, but they came back and they were on fire. And so London was exactly what the doctor ordered for them last year. I think London's exactly what the doctor ordered for them. This year, that week 3 loss was an embarrassment against Houston, and they've looked good 2 weeks in a row, going up against Indianapolis without Richardson. They've got their star back after making him a big contract. But the Jaguars should win this game. I think the Jaguars are going to go on a little bit of a run here. But rivalry game, coming back from, London, maybe a little bit of fatigue. Probably not. It's not that far of a jump for them over the pond. And not a lot of future value to these Jags. So I think this one's a little bit tempting in those leagues where you have to make multiple picks. But like you say, Jekyll and Hyde, that Jags have been so far this year.
And the Colts scare me, Michael. I have a lot of respect, maybe too much, for Gardner Minshew as a backup. I almost don't think that they're hurt very much by Richardson having Gardner Minshew in there. And, Jonathan Taylor's now back, and happy. He's got a new contract. So I think this is a little bit scary for me in this game, but let's see. Now we got the last game on our slate to consider, and it's your team. I think this is the first time this year we get to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders as a team to pick. The Las Vegas Raiders are 3-point favorites against a New England Patriot team that looked awful last week. In Las Vegas, I am going to be at this game. I am going to be traveling to Las Vegas to check out this game. Tell me, you're the Raider fan. What do you think?
Well, I was at that game last night. They looked pretty impressive against the Packers, or at least the Packers looked unimpressive against them. I think this is really a condemnation of New England, which, Bill Belichick may actually be, taking a knee this season and preparing for next season with how that's going. It just didn't seem like a Bill Belichick team, or hasn't seemed like. I know a lot of it you could say is on Mac Jones with his level of play. But I mean, I watched the Raiders game, and Jimmy G continues to miss targets as well. They haven't really been smart with their play calling. If you watched that game last night, head scratching how they approached the end of the first half when Green Bay had to punt and they let the clock run down. Jimmy G, missing throws, not getting the ball to Devontae Adams, who, clearly is the star. I just don't know how you can bet on the Raiders right now. It's really, really frustrating as a fan. So as bad as New England has looked this year, maybe as bad as anyone, unless Bill Belichick's taken a knee, they're going to find a way to compete against teams like the Raiders.
Yeah, there was speculation that Devontae Adams was not 100% last week. Now, if that is the case, watch the news that he looks like he's not 100% this week. That would really scare me in making this particular pick. But it sounds to me that your expert eyes tell you that it was Green Bay that was bad, not so much that Las Vegas was good. Did I hear that right? Or do you think Las Vegas impressed you last week?
No, it was more that Green Bay was bad. Jordan Love missed really some few targets that he should not have missed. Really hurts not having Aaron Jones back. And if you're really looking out for the Raiders, they got New England this week. They're at Chicago next week. Yeah, tough game against Detroit the week after that. But then they come back home and they got the Giants. Giants still are probably going to be looking pretty tough. That a lot of their line injuries are several weeks to go. So that's, if you really ever want to pick the Raiders, that's the week to pick the Raiders, I think.
Okay. All right. So let's talk turkey. So my pick, and I'm not excited about this, which is why I picked Washington last week, but I'm going to go with the LA Rams, right? There is two pieces of information I didn't know about last week. I didn't know James Conner was going to get hurt. So the Arizona running back. And I didn't know Cooper Kupp would look as good as he did in his first game back. So I would go with the Rams. It is a little bit scary, but I don't think this Arizona team is very good. So I am going to go with the Rams. Rams have almost no future value, certainly no future value that's soon. So I will burn. My suggestion is, if you don't have one of those top three teams, to burn the Rams.
And I'm right there with you. Rams back to back at home. Always nice to have that. Going up against one of the weakest teams in the league, now more at full strength. I would go with the Rams this week as well. So we're aligned.
Oh, My goodness. So that probably means the Rams are going to get upset. But
fair comment.
No. So, all right, everybody. We want to hear from you guys. You guys have been making really great, insightful comments. In whether you're eliminated or not in our poll, give us your thoughts. Where do you go this week? And I would like you to say 2 choices. Where do you go if you basically had everybody available? So it's probably one of the top 3 teams. And where do you go if either you don't have any of the top 3 teams, or you want to take a chance because you're going to be double up on picks down the road? Until next week.
Hey, Eric, sorry to interrupt you, but I have something else I wouldn't mind hearing from the fans on. If you've been watching these Niners, you've got to love how good they look right now. I want to say, barring injuries, I want to see how many of our viewers think that the Rams or the Niners, are going to go undefeated this season. They look so good, and they have such a nice schedule. Other than that game at Philadelphia a little bit later this season, they kind of have game after game after game after game that they should win. This might be the best layup for undefeated season since that Patriot team went undefeated during the regular season. So it's just something I'd like to hear from our viewers on. Sorry to interrupt, Eric.
Do you see how upset I am?
Oh, Seahawks. Oh, yeah.
I am a Seahawk fan, and they play Seattle twice, and you have the audacity to talk about an undefeated season. Oh, so anyway, no, it's certainly a fair comment. Thanks so much for supporting this channel. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week to break down week 7. Until then, take care.
Bye-bye. We're putting on the screen 2 videos that we think you would enjoy.